Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The mansion's silent ambiance bore witness to the chime of the doorbell as it reverberated through its vast corridors. As the cherrywood entrance's opening grew imminent, a solitary figure stood anticipating. His attire, faded jeans and a well-worn sweater, contrasting with the opulent surroundings. A demeanor of dejection consumed him, his posture sagging as if each moment amplified the weight of his burdens. Then, as the portal yielded, an exquisite vision emerged. Auburn tresses cascaded freely, framing a face meticulously adorned even at daybreak's fragile hour. An emerald gown, her sartorial choice, embraced her contours in sublime elegance. "Your tardiness is noted," she observed, her voice both a statement and an invitation. His monotone reply lingered in the air, laden with unspoken narratives. Congestion. Navigating past her, the foyer's pristine marble, once so familiar, now accentuated the disparity between his casual footwear and the grandeur they trod upon. "Your linguistic prowess remains untouched. Incessant is the trait of singular expressions." With this nuanced reproach, she sealed their worlds together, the door a barricade against the outside. "Thank you for coming, Abel." Abel nodded, following her through the entryway into the vast living room. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the space in morning light, illuminating the Italian leather furniture and minimalist decor that had cost him a small fortune. "So, what's this emergency that couldn't wait until next week?" Abel ran a hand through his short brown hair, trying to hide his discomfort at being back in this house. Margot gestured toward the plush white sofa. "Please, sit down." "I'd rather stand." "Always the stubborn one." She sighed, perching herself on the arm of a nearby chair. "I'm selling the house, moving to Hollywood next month." The news shouldn't have surprised him. After Margot's role in that indie film won her critical acclaim, offers had been pouring in. Their marriage had been collateral damage to her rising star.
"Congratulations,"
he said flatly.
"I need your help preparing the house for viewings."
She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, revealing the diamond earrings he'd bought for their 5th anniversary.
"The realtor is bringing potential buyers through, and I can't be here for all of them."
Abel laughed, the sound hollow.
"And why would I help you sell our house? The divorce papers are signed. I've moved on."
"Have you?" Her gaze flickered to his left hand, still bearing the pale band where his wedding ring had been for 7 years. "Besides, you're getting 40% of the sale. The sooner it sells, the sooner you get your money." He couldn't argue with that logic. The settlement had left him in a small apartment across town, working double shifts at the architectural firm just to make rent. The money from the house sale would give him breathing room. "Fine. What do you need me to do?" A slow smile spread across Margot's face, the kind he'd seen countless times when she'd gotten her way during their marriage. "That's the tricky part." She stood and walked to a closet near the entryway, returning with a garment bag draped over her arm. She unzipped it with dramatic flair to reveal a black and white uniform. "You want me to hire a maid?" "No." Her smile widened. "I want you to be the maid." Abel stared at her, waiting for the punchline. When none came, he shook his head. "You're insane." The realtor suggested having staff present during showings. Makes the place seem more luxurious, more desirable. She stroked the fabric of the uniform. "But hiring someone is expensive, And frankly, no one knows this house better than you do. So, hire someone and I'll train them. We don't have time for that. The first viewing is tomorrow. She held the uniform against his chest. Just for a few weeks, Abel. The commission is $20 million. Your cut would be $8 million. The figure hung in the air between them. $8 million. Enough to start over completely.
This is ridiculous,
he muttered, but his resolve was weakening.
You expect me to dress up like a woman?
Like a professional house manager, she corrected.
With your attention to detail and knowledge of the property, you'd be perfect. Plus, no one would recognize you. It's been years since you attended any industry events with me.
Abel took the garment bag, feeling the weight of the fabric in his hands.
And if I refuse?
Then I'll hire someone else, and you'll get your money in 3 to 6 months, instead of weeks. She shrugged. Your choice. The desperation of his financial situation clawed at him. His credit cards were maxed out. His car needed repairs he couldn't afford, and the architectural firm was going through layoffs.
Just until the house sells,
he said finally. Just until the house sells, she agreed, her victory evident in her voice.
Now, let's go over the details.
The next morning, Abel stood in what had once been his bedroom, staring at his reflection in the full-length mirror. The black uniform dress fell to just below his knees. The white collar and cuffs created a stark contrast against the dark fabric. Sheer black stockings covered his freshly shaved legs, ending in sensible black shoes with a low heel. Stop fidgeting with the wig, Margot said, swatting his hand away from the blonde hair that now framed his face in soft waves. You'll mess it up.
It itches,
he complained, shifting uncomfortably.
Beauty is pain, darling. Something you men never understand.
She applied a final touch of red lipstick to his lips, stepping back to admire her work.
Perfect. You look absolutely convincing.
Abel hardly recognized himself. Margot had worked her magic with makeup, softening his jawline, accentuating his cheekbones, making his brown eyes appear larger and more expressive. The blonde wig completely transformed his appearance, making him look younger somehow.
I feel ridiculous,
he muttered, though secretly he was surprised at how natural the transformation looked. He'd expected to resemble a caricature. You look beautiful, Margot corrected. From now on, you're Lila, my discreet and efficient house manager. You speak when spoken to, you're polite but not overly friendly, and you know every inch of this house. Lila? He raised an eyebrow. I always thought it was a pretty name. She handed him a small white apron, which he tied around his waist with clumsy fingers.
The realtors will be here in 30 minutes with the first clients. Remember, you're here to answer questions about the house and offer refreshments. Nothing more.
Abel, no, Lila now, nodded stiffly. How long will this showing last?
About an hour. I'll be gone by the time they arrive. I have a lunch meeting with my new agent.
Margot grabbed her designer handbag from the bed. There's coffee and petit fours in the kitchen. Serve them in the sunroom if they ask for refreshments. After Margot left, Lila paced the master bedroom, trying to get used to walking in heels. Her reflection caught her off guard each time she passed the mirror. The transformation was unsettling but also fascinating. She studied her movements, consciously softening her stride, adjusting her posture to appear more graceful. The doorbell rang precisely at 11 o'clock. With a deep breath, Lila descended the grand staircase, her hand sliding along the polished banister for support. Opening the front door, She came face to face with a tall woman in a charcoal gray suit, flanked by a well-dressed couple.
"Good morning,"
the realtor said brightly. "I'm Patricia Williams from Luxury Estates. You must be Lila?" "Yes, welcome to the Montgomery residence," Lila replied, her voice softer than usual. "Please come in." Patricia gave her an appreciative nod. "Mrs. Montgomery mentioned you'd be here to answer any questions about the property." "Of course. I'm at your disposal." Lila stepped aside, allowing the trio to enter. The next hour passed in a blur as Lila guided them through the mansion, showcasing its features with a knowledge only someone who had lived there could possess. She described the imported Italian marble in the master bathroom, mentioned the custom temperature control system in the wine cellar, and pointed out the hand-painted ceiling mural in the dining room. "And how long have you been working for Mrs. Montgomery?" the woman asked, as Lila poured coffee in delicate porcelain cups. "Several years," Lila answered vaguely, arranging petite fours on a silver tray. "The house has been impeccably maintained during that time."
"It shows,"
the man commented, accepting a cup.
"The attention to detail is remarkable."
Lila felt a strange pride at the compliment, even though they were essentially praising her for the care she'd taken of her own home during her marriage. "Thank you. Mrs. Montgomery values quality and precision." As they left, Patricia handed Lila her business card. "You were wonderful today. Having you here made a real difference. Mrs. Montgomery is fortunate to have such a knowledgeable house manager." Lila accepted the card with a slight nod. "Thank you, Ms. Williams." After closing the door, Lila leaned against it, exhaling deeply. She'd survived the first showing. Surprisingly, it hadn't been nearly as humiliating as she'd expected. In fact, there had been something almost liberating about being someone else for a while. Margot returned that evening, eager for details. "They loved the house," Lila reported, still in full uniform at Margot's insistence. "And they seemed impressed with me." "Of course they were," Margot said, kicking off her heels and collapsing onto the sofa. "You've always been detail-oriented to a fault. It's what made you a good architect and a frustrating husband." Lila chose to ignore the jab. "When's the next showing?"
"Tomorrow afternoon. Different clients. Patricia thinks we might get multiple offers."
Margot studied her ex-husband.
"You seem more comfortable in that outfit than I expected."
Lila shrugged, avoiding Margot's gaze. "It's just acting, right? Isn't that what you always say about your work?"
"Indeed."
A curious smile played on Margot's lips. "You can change now if you want. I left some of your old clothes in the guest room." "I'll just finish tidying up the kitchen first," Lila said, surprising herself with the response. Force of habit. Over the next 2 weeks, Lila hosted 12 showings. Each time she grew more comfortable in her role, refining her movements, her speech patterns, her mannerisms. She found herself anticipating questions about the house, preparing special touches like fresh flowers in the entryway or homemade cookies in the kitchen. What started as a humiliating charade slowly evolved into something else, a performance that brought unexpected satisfaction. People treated Lila with a respect and deference that Abel rarely experienced in his everyday life. They listened when she spoke. They valued her opinions about the house. They thanked her for her attention to detail. "We have 3 offers," Margot announced one evening, waving papers triumphantly as she entered the house. Lila was arranging roses in the foyer, still dressed in her uniform. 2 at asking price and 1 above. We're going with the highest, obviously." "That's wonderful news," Lila said, adjusting a cream-colored bloom in the crystal vase. You should be excited. Your cut is nearly 9 million now. Margot cocked her head, studying her ex-husband. You haven't changed out of that uniform in days. Lila's hands stilled on the flowers. It was true. She'd been sleeping in the guest room, washing and ironing the uniform each night, maintaining the blonde wig with the products Margot had provided. She'd even started applying the makeup herself, watching tutorials online when Margot wasn't around. It seemed easier to stay in character between showings, she said carefully. The last showing was yesterday, Margot pointed out. We accepted the offer this morning. Lila had no response to that. She couldn't explain the comfort she'd found in this new identity, how, for the first time in years, she felt purposeful, appreciated. Margot tapped her manicured nails against the marble countertop. Interesting. What's interesting? Lila asked defensively. You always were happiest when taking care of things. The house, the garden, me, when I let you. Margot's expression softened unexpectedly. I'm leaving for Hollywood in 3 days. The new owners take possession next month. I know, Lila said quietly. Congratulations on your fresh start. What about your fresh start, Abel? Margot used his real name deliberately, watching for his reaction. Lila flinched slightly at the sound of it. I'll figure something out. The night before Margot's departure, she called Lila into the master bedroom. Spread across the bed were several outfits, more uniforms in black, navy, and gray, along with modest dresses, blouses, and skirts. What's all this? Lila asked, running her fingers over a dove gray dress with pearl buttons. Your severance package, Margot replied. Along with your portion of the house sale, of course. You're giving me clothes? I'm giving you options. Margot sat on the edge of the bed. I've seen how you've changed these past weeks. How you move, how you speak, how you seem more content as Lila than you ever were as Abel toward the end of our marriage. Lila stared at the clothes, her heart racing. I don't understand. Don't you? Margot's gaze was penetrating. I have a friend who manages properties for wealthy families in New England. I showed her videos of you conducting house tours. She was impressed. You recorded me? Lila's eyes widened. Security cameras, darling. I needed to make sure you were representing the house well. She waved dismissively. The point is, she has clients who need a house manager, someone discreet, meticulous, knowledgeable about maintaining high-end properties. The implication hung between them. Lila looked from the clothes to her ex-wife, confusion and possibility wrestling in her mind. You mean, continue being Lila, professionally? Why not? You're clearly good at it. Far better than you were at being happy as Abel. Margot handed her a business card. Colette will call you tomorrow. The position is in Connecticut. Old money family, beautiful estate. The pay is excellent, and they provide housing on the property. Lila took the card, her fingers trembling slightly. I don't know what to say.
Say you'll think about it.
Margot stood, suddenly businesslike again. Those clothes are yours regardless. My flight leaves at noon tomorrow.
The house is empty until the new owners arrive.
After Margot left the room, Lila remained, staring at the business card and the clothes spread before her. She should have felt manipulated, humiliated. Instead, she felt something dangerously close to gratitude. The morning of Margot's departure arrived with crystal blue skies and a gentle breeze. Lila helped load the last of her suitcases into the waiting car. Your banking information is on file with my lawyer. The money should transfer within the week, Margot said, slipping on oversized sunglasses. Did Colette call you? Yes, Lila confirmed. We spoke this morning. And? Lila straightened her uniform, the black fabric crisp against her skin. I have an interview next Wednesday. A smile spread across Margot's face. Perfect. The Whitakers are lovely people. Old-fashioned, certainly, but generous employers. An unexpected lump formed in Lila's throat. Despite everything, this was goodbye. 7 years of marriage, ending with her standing in a maid's uniform, watching her ex-wife leave for a new life. Thank you, she said softly. For everything. Margot paused, her hand on the car door. For a moment, the practiced glamour slipped, revealing a glimpse of the woman Abel had fallen in love with years ago. We were terrible together, you know, Margot said. But that doesn't mean we can't wish each other happiness. She leaned forward and kissed Lila's cheek, leaving a faint imprint of lipstick. Good luck, Lila. I think you finally found yourself. With that, she slid into the back seat, and the car pulled away, leaving Lila standing in the driveway of the empty mansion. That night, Lila packed her belongings, both Abel's sparse wardrobe and the new clothes Margot had left. She looked around the guest room one last time before closing the door on that chapter of her life. In her small apartment across town, she opened her laptop and researched Connecticut, the Whitaker family, and what would be expected of a house manager for a prestigious estate. She created a resume for Lila Montgomery, carefully constructing a background that explained her knowledge of architecture, interior design, and property management without revealing her true identity. When Wednesday arrived, Lila dressed in the dove gray dress with pearl buttons, styled her blonde wig with careful precision, and applied her makeup with a steady hand. The reflection in the mirror showed a poised, professional woman ready for a new opportunity. The interview with the Whitakers took place via video call. Harriet Whitaker, a silver-haired woman with aristocratic features, asked pointed questions about Lila's experience and expectations. Margot speaks very highly of you, Mrs. Whitaker said. She mentioned you managed their estate for several years? Yes, ma'am, Lila replied, her voice soft but confident. I oversaw all aspects of property maintenance, coordinated with contractors for repairs, managed the household budget, and ensured the residence was always prepared for guests and events. Our estate is considerably larger, Mr. Whitaker interjected. 15 acres, the main house, guest cottages, and a staff of 4 that you would supervise. I welcome the challenge, Lila said, meaning it. I believe in maintaining the highest standards of service and discretion. By the end of the hour-long interview, Lila had secured the position. She would start in 2 weeks, with accommodation provided in a private cottage on the estate grounds. Those 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind of preparation. Abel's apartment lease was terminated. His few possessions were sold or donated. He submitted his resignation at the architectural firm, citing a career change without elaborating further. Only one task remained. Sitting at his kitchen table, Abel stared at the legal papers before him. A name change application, the final bridge between his past and future. With a deep breath, he signed the papers, officially beginning the process to become Lila Montgomery legally. The name Margot had chosen on a whim would now be his, her permanent identity. 6 months later, Lila stood in the grand foyer of Whitaker Estate, directing the floral arrangements for an upcoming charity gala. Her blonde hair, now growing out naturally beneath the wig, was styled in an elegant updo. Her black dress was formal but practical, allowing her to move efficiently through her duties. The roses should be placed on the entry tables, with the lilies reserved for the dining room, she instructed the florist. Mrs. Whitaker prefers a more subdued palette in the main hall. Of course, Ms. Montgomery, the florist replied, clearly accustomed to Lila's exacting standards. In half a year, Lila had transformed the Whitaker household management from adequate to exceptional. The estate ran with clockwork precision under her guidance. The staff respected her expertise and attention to detail. The Whitakers regularly praised her to their social circle, resulting in numerous inquiries about her availability from other wealthy families. But Lila was content at Whitaker Estate. Her cottage provided the perfect balance of privacy and proximity. Her duties kept her mind engaged and her days purposeful. And, most importantly, nobody here had ever known Abel. To everyone in her new life, she was simply Lila Montgomery, the impeccable house manager with the mysterious past. That evening, after confirming all preparations for the gala were complete, Lila returned to her cottage. She removed her makeup carefully, hanging her dress in the closet alongside the growing collection of feminine attire that now constituted her entire wardrobe. On her bedside table sat a framed photo, the only remnant of her previous life. It showed a modern building with clean, sweeping lines, Abel's final architectural project before the divorce. Not a reminder of who she had been, but of the attention to detail and passion for creating beautiful spaces that she still carried with her. Her phone chimed with a message. It was from Margot, who checked in occasionally from her new life in Hollywood. "Saw this and thought of you," the text read, accompanied by a photo of an English garden with meticulously maintained topiary. "Still keeping everything in perfect order?" Lila smiled, typing her response. "Always. Hope filming is going well." She set the phone down and moved to the window, looking out at the moonlit gardens of the estate. In the distance, lights from the main house glowed warmly. Tomorrow would bring the chaos of the gala, followed by the satisfaction of returning the property to its immaculate condition afterward. A year ago, such a life would have seemed like punishment, a humiliating role forced upon her by circumstances and her ex-wife's manipulation. Now it felt like liberation. As Lila, she had found purpose and appreciation that had eluded her as Abel. The elegant cottage, the respectful staff, the grateful employers, all of it belonged to Lila, the person she was always meant to be. The transformation that had begun as a temporary masquerade had revealed her authentic self. She ran her fingers through her growing blonde hair, feeling its softness. Soon, she wouldn't need the wig at all. Each day brought small changes, subtle refinements to her appearance and mannerisms that felt increasingly natural. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Opening it, she found Mrs. Whitaker standing on her porch, wrapped in a cashmere shawl against the evening chill. "I apologize for disturbing you at home, Lila," the older woman said. "But I wanted to personally thank you for all your efforts with tomorrow's preparations. Everything looks absolutely perfect." "It's my pleasure, Mrs. Whitaker," Lila replied, genuinely touched by the gesture. "We've received so many compliments about the improvements to the estate since you arrived." Mrs. Whitaker smiled warmly. "The board members will be making an announcement tomorrow about increasing the foundation's charitable giving, and I wanted you to be the first to know that we've included a substantial donation to transgender support services in your honor." Lila froze, her heart pounding. I don't understand." Mrs. Whitaker's expression remained kind.
"My dear, we may be old, but we're not unobservant. Margot was discreet but honest when she recommended you. We hired you for your exceptional skills, not your personal journey. That's entirely your business." Relief and gratitude washed over Lila. Thank you for your discretion and support.
You've created a beautiful life here, Lila. We're fortunate to have you.
Mrs. Whitaker patted her hand gently. Now, get some rest. Tomorrow will be a busy day. After Mrs. Whitaker left, Lila closed the door and leaned against it, emotions overwhelming her. Acceptance, understanding, respect, the things she had craved most throughout her life. In the beginning, becoming Lila had been about necessity, a way to earn money and move forward after the divorce. But somewhere along the way, the uniform, the blonde hair, the feminine mannerisms had stopped being a disguise and started being an expression of her true self. Margot had seen it before she did. Perhaps that insight was her parting gift after 7 years of a marriage that had never quite worked. Lila moved to her dressing table and opened the small jewelry box where she kept her most precious possessions. Inside lay a simple silver locket Margot had left for her the day she departed for Hollywood. Lila had never opened it until now. Inside was a tiny note written in Margot's elegant script. To Lila, who was always there waiting to emerge, may you find the happiness that eluded us both. Tears welled in Lila's eyes as she closed the locket and placed it around her neck. Tomorrow she would manage a flawless gala, directing staff with quiet authority, ensuring every guest felt welcomed and impressed by the Whitaker hospitality. And she would do it as herself, not as someone playing a role, but as Lila Montgomery, the woman she was always meant to be, finally at home in her own life.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!